All right. Welcome to Amazon Answers. I am Jared, and today we are discussing the last good Wonder Woman issue. Oh, God. It seems so long ago. We were all so like complacent. We were like, it could either be really good or really bad. Unfortunately for us, it got pretty bad. So we're going to start with Wonder Woman 800. So this was the conclusion of Clunrad's Wonder Woman run, which I reviewed a couple episodes ago. It's criminally underrated, I'll tell you that. Yeah, so let's start with this. So first, we have this killer cover by, I believe this cover is by, let me see, what does it say here? Yanni Paquette of Wonder Woman Earth 1 fame. And basically what this is a bunch of issues showing Diana interacting with each of the characters. Yeah, Yara Flores starts her off, and it's like, it's essentially Diana's kind of like in a coma, and she's interacting with all these different characters, and we're seeing like the effects of Wonder Woman's life. Like she even tells it's kind of interesting seeing it because we barely saw Wonder Woman like interact with a Yar, and it's I like where she goes the old me before I knew about a tribe, my mother, my birthright, before I became Wonder Woman. And then she says, a normal life, the one you gave up the moment I put the tiara on your head. I should have warned you, given you a choice. And she goes, stop, I'm strong enough and I don't have any regrets. Guess I never thought to mourn the life I lost in the process. And then Diana says, we're Amazons, and this is the sacrifice. So you have that. And it's like Diana is essentially like, again, like sort of in like a coma or something like that. And she is it is very cool the way this goes on. I like how she's glowing gold. And it says the ritual was her idea. Diana's always lived between both worlds, the moral and the divine. She feared that as a god she might forget the part of herself that made her human. This is to remind her of like why she's human. So then we have Diana interacting with Yara, with Donna, and then they accomplish an adventure. It's basically all of the different Wonder Woman characters telling Diana the positive effect that like she has on their world. We even have Cassie, and what's cool about this is that Cassie is in the costume and design that she had in the John Byrne run, so it's kind of cool seeing that being reminded. And then we continue going. They fight Darkseid together, and then we see her hanging out with Artemis. Then we see her like saving Bruce and stuff from like despair. Okay, the funny part about this issue, and it's like Batman calling her his rock, but I love how Diana is like essentially tending to a man child. That's the really funny part about this, because that's where that goes. And so Bruce wakes up and he goes, always there when I need you most. So then she goes, she touched a crystal, and then she's in Clark's dreams. And I love this. So when this issue, so Jen Bartel did the art for the next couple of pages. And when she revealed like what the issue was, when she revealed this is an official DC project, you'll see why the rabid Chloe fans went after her, because there's something in here that is very interesting. So essentially, so Clark goes, I hear it all, begging, crying, pleading, praying. And then Diana says, it must be hard. And then Clark goes, sure, it can be. For all the pain, there's so much beauty, but even that, cries of 100 newborn babies, farewells for the dying from their families and friends, an exchange of vows, laughter, and love. All the moments of every life, they find me even here. Then Diana says, that would be too much for anyone to handle. And then Clark says, not for me. I make 1,000 snap judgments a day, which problems to address, which ones I'd help best with. And then Diana says, and you do a fine job, Clark. I can't help them all. I have to allow some suffering. My life is defined by triage decisions. And then Diana says, this is what makes you Superman. It's not your ability to hear or the power to intervene, but the ability to accept that perfection is impossible. And Clark goes, is it? Then perhaps it's a matter of perspective. Here, I want to show you something. And then they teleports her and just them into space. And this is the page that freaked everyone out. Because and I love where the Clovis fans tried to say, oh, this is platonic. And I go, nothing about this is platonic. The hug in the middle panel, her leg crossing his body in the top panel. Am I wrong, guys? Because I'm not getting platonic from this. If anything, I'm getting, because this was so Clunrad, as you guys know, if you've watched the Super Wonder show, he's like he made the statement that like he likes to keep the relationship ambiguous, but I'm like, brother, this is not ambiguous. You and I have very different definitions of the words ambiguous. So that's what I mean here. And I always thought that this was like one of the most interesting panels. And it's like the way that like he holds her, and then the way he's looking at her, their face is that close, and he goes, so much beauty, it hurts. And I go, and then Diana wakes up and sees Hippolyta, and NJ freaked out. That's not a normal hug. Yeah, thank you, NJ. This is not normal hugging. I have female friends. I don't hug them like this. Absolutely not. I'm like, there's no way that is like platonic hugging. Like, no, I'm sorry, no. So then you have, okay, hang on. So then you have Diana seeing Hippolyta, and again, this whole issue is like the anniversary 800 issue. It's the transition to the King run of Wonder Woman, but it's also like the last time we saw real Wonder Woman, so that's actually very interesting. And then Diana says, "I've only ever wanted to make you proud. It's just your heart has always been your compass. It has never steered you wrong. Now go mold the clay of your destiny with your own hands." She goes, "I'm ready for whatever comes next." Then we're like, if she says, "I'm more alive than ever," and then she also has an interaction with Nubia. And then we see, like, again, all the characters. It's like a big retrospective moment. And then we see, like, then we see the end. And then the other part that this issue was the first story of King's Wonder Woman, the introduction of Trinity. And here's the problem. This is the impression after this, the Wholesome Issues darkness came. Yes, NJ, very much so. Because here's what happened. I was on board for a little bit, and then it's like when you first see Trinity, so they arrive first, and then Batman says she's late. And so that's what she does. It's part of her charm. And then Trinity goes, "What? You're just standing here staring into space with all we've got to do? Seriously, why is it so hard for your boys to do anything right?" And I'm like, if you wanted us to like this character, this is not the introduction that we wanted. And the dialogue just keeps getting worse. Like she says, "I'm late because I was fighting 12 deities and it takes a little time. Please forgive me. I regret it so. And you didn't see me because I'm, I don't know, like better than you at all these things. Is this news? That I don't regret, but you probably do. So I'm sorry about you doing the regretting, if that helps." This is not normal dialogue, by the way. She goes, "Hurry it up, will you? The magic of the cave or whatever is right over there, blah, 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 blah." And it's like, and rest assured, I have full confidence in your ability to get it done. Sorry, I don't have time right now to dig a hole in the sand for you to stick your heads in. And I'm like, oh, shut up. And it's like, this is your first impression of this new character. And then she shows up, and she also goes, so in the cave, there's supposed to be 3 trials: pain, skill, honor. Doesn't matter to me, but if you can't decide, I'm happy to do it for you. And I go, just stop. And we see a statue of a Greek goddess, and this is the trial of pain. Batman gets the Trial of skill. And again, that's Damian Batman, and then the Superman is John. And we see Diana, and it's the honor one, and and Trinity defeats the apparition. Then we see Trinity. I am Elizabeth Marston Prince, champion of the Amazons, leader of the Justice League, daughter of Diana, and the first holder of 3 lassos of fate. Stop trying to make it a big thing. Why does she need 3 lassos? When is it ever going to be when is there ever going to be a situation where she needs 3 lassos? Like, and then we get the worst Wonder Woman villain ever created, the Sovereign. And this is that issue. And I'm like, this is just like the worst thing in the world. And the fact that Trinity is an idiot, the daughter of Selena. Yeah, exactly. Here's the other thing. Trinity is a moron because so he tells her the story of how he was defeated, but she didn't have the lasso of truth around him for an interrogation. Are you kidding me? A character that's known for lying, you didn't have the lasso of truth around him? Like, Diana would put the lasso of truth around to make sure he's telling the truth. But no, you tried to girl boss it, and you created a character that is like one of the worst introductions for a character ever. And I'm going to play this.
Hereby complete the mission of the Amazons by ridding this world of you forever.
That's what all of us want to do for Wonder Woman. But yeah, so drop your questions about Wonder Woman 800, Trinity's first appearance. She inherited Steve's IQ. That's great, NJ. I love that. That is excellent. That's such a good joke. I'm going to get... I need to give you a clip for that because that was great. That's such a great joke. Thank you, NJ. But yeah, that's the thing about this, because this should have been a layup to give Wonder Woman a daughter. But when your public reasoning for it is, well, Wonder Woman where Batman has a daughter and Superman has a daughter, so Wonder Woman should have a daughter. And I go, no, that is the stupidest reasoning you can give us, because that tells me you're just giving Wonder Woman the sloppy seconds. That shows me you don't care about the character. Make up a reason. Like I'm sure that was the reasoning, like privately inside editorially with DC for Trinity's creation. But if I were marketing this like character, if I wanted Trinity to like last, the way I would do it is say, look, I felt that at this point Wonder Woman is at a point as a character where like a daughter would just add to the character, and it would be exciting to see how Diana applies the same or different. It would be cool to see how different of a mother or similar of a mother Diana to her daughter is than like Hippolyta to Diana. See, there are ways that you can say it. The problem is he's not even open. Yeah, exactly. And he was created for the Super Sons. Yeah, and to be a self-insertion for him and his kids. That's why the trade called Trinity, Daughter of Wonder Woman, is about fathers and daughters. And I'm like, are you kidding me? Daughter of Wonder Woman. She's supposed to be the daughter of Wonder Woman, and it's the first time that the Daughter of Wonder Woman has gotten a mini-series, and that's your reasoning for it. Like, I'm sorry. I find that to be very despicable. I find that to be very lazy and despicable. I'm just being honest with that, because that should not be the reasoning for it. And now, again, and I had this conversation with Britt last night for Super Wonder, and we talked about, now let's say I want to, let's say Britt and I get to write Wonder Woman, and we can't eliminate the character, but we can retcon her. The first thing we are going to do is retcon with time travel that Diana does not make a child out of clay. That's the first thing. She doesn't even create a child. Then what you do is you is you make it so Emily dies and her daughter, instead of becoming the matriarch, is Diana's adopted daughter. That's what you do. Eliminate Steve from the equation. Just eliminate all that. Their first interaction was a joke. Yeah, exactly. And that just leads to Steve having the father moment. Because, again, if I had to write this series, well, first off, if DC asked me if I wanted to write it, I would say no, but because this character's horrible. But let's say I wanted to, let's say I had to do it. I would make it where each issue is like from a different time period. Like issue 1 is like Trinity as a baby. Issue 2 is Trinity as a toddler. Issue 3 is Trinity as a child. And it's just all these little vignettes of Diana raising her daughter and growing up. And then the last issue is take place in the distant future. It's like an alternate future, if you will, because it's going to be the alternate future. That's the good part about Trinity. In reality, none of what happens in the storyline matters. But anyway, what I would do, the last issue is when Diana steps down from being Wonder Woman and Trinity takes over. That's the way you do this series. Instead of making it so you can crap on Wonder Woman in order to hold up how awesome Steve Trevor is. Like, I'm sorry, you're not writing Steve Trevor, you're writing Wonder Woman. So, again, that is the thing that's why when I did a Wonder Woman Wednesday about this, I said that will always be the what's the word that story will that part will always be the fatal flaw of Tom King's Wonder Woman, is the Steve Trevor like focus. And that's what this started with, because remember, previous to Wonder Woman 800, here's what happened. Previous to Wonder Woman 800, all of this was Diana focused. It was like, let's talk about how awesome of a character Diana is. But of course, because of because Tom King self-inserted onto Steve Trevor, he has to be the focus of the story. And it's like Steve is like, and it's like you also have it where Alfred is apparently talking about how awesome Steve is, and I go, that's not, like, I'm sorry, that's, as far as I know, Trinity, Steve Trevor has never met Alfred, so that wouldn't even be a thing. So that's the issue there, and I'm just like, no, this is just stupid. But anyway, so what other questions or comments do you guys have about Wonder Woman 800 or like anything in between? Because there's a lot that we can get into here. But it's like the issue itself, I loved where the issue is basically, not only is it Diana focused, but it's focused on the effect that Diana has in all the characters that she has touched. Hey, what's up, Cameron? So it's like with Wonder Woman 800, it's like the writers were like, let's talk about how awesome Diana is. Much like King wanted to, but they actually succeeded because they're like, let's show the positive effect that Wonder Woman has on the entire DC universe. That's why she interacts with all the Wonder Girls, Superman, Batman, Hippolyta, and the Amazons themselves are saved for last, but the best for last. And that's where it really, 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 like, I don't want to say like improves, but that's where it really shines, I'll say. And that's why this is like the last great issue of Wonder Woman before we had that. And also, of course, you get the Super Wonder scene, and I'm going to reshare my screen so we can see that scene again, particularly for people for just coming in, because there was a lot of fun with that. And I remember Britt and I were texting when that issue was coming out, and we were like, wait, what's going on? Why is that being shared as like official DC art? I'm sorry, DC universe is taking forever to load. So let me do that. Wonder Woman 800. Okay, so let me do this. Wonder Woman 800. But luckily, here's the thing. The run is so forgettable that likely we won't. This run is not going to be like one of these seminal Wonder Woman runs. But anyway, this is for you, Cameron. Take a look at how Superman and Wonder Woman are hugging each other in this issue. That is not a platonic hug between friends. Still can't believe this was the last good issue between the Absolute Darkness. Yeah, I know. Let me put it this way: absolute like mainline darkness, because obviously we have Absolute Wonder Woman after this, and Absolute Wonder Woman was fantastic. And that was the one where it was like, oh, okay, we actually have some good stuff in there. No, it's not exactly. It's like that. That's when we really had. That's where, at the very least, I'm grateful we have Absolute Wonder Woman, because that has become a like a godsend and like a light at the end of the tunnel thing for DC. Because honestly, who knows? I'm just like. I just want. It's like, how hard is it for someone to actually write a good Wonder Woman? The answer actually is, it's not that hard. You just have to care about the character, which we all know very few writers do, unfortunately. I mean, obviously, Brit and I care, and Wonder Woman is like one. It's like, obviously, as I said many times, and I'll say it again. Wonder Woman, not Batman or Superman, from a storytelling perspective, is the most important DC character DC publishes. And there's a lot of different reasons for that. Chief among them, the devotion to truth idea that DC for some reason keeps saying, oh, that's a contradiction. Anyone that says that's a contradiction, or really anyone that's, I'm going to say this again, anyone that says that Wonder Woman is difficult to write doesn't know how to write. It should not be writing Wonder Woman. Like, I'm sorry, anyone that is saying that doesn't understand the character, because she's not that hard to write. All you need to do is actually like have a surface level understanding of what Diana is. And if you don't, it's like if you don't, then don't write the character. Because remember, King didn't want to write Wonder Woman. He rejected it when DC first offered it to him. So that's what we should be talking about, ladies and gents. That DC offered the book to him, and at first he said no. And then he changed his mind because he got it into his head somehow that George Perez was challenging him. And I go, is George Perez in the room with us right now? No? Okay. Then you shouldn't be writing the character. You just shouldn't. It's like, but again, that will require writers to actually care about it, which of course I do. So praying for the relaunch with Kelly, taking on the main one. Yeah, me too. That's like the safest route to go with Wonder Woman at this point. Relaunch it, number one, and then give the book to Kelly Thompson, because first you're elevating it, so that's like fulfilling DC's thing, and if you're and you can move King to like a Batman book where he obviously wants to write, and then you can just go with that. Like, that's the way you could do that. But we'll see what happens, because some more stuff is probably going to be announced. It's not necessarily like with New York Comic Con ending, it's not necessarily the end. Like, oh, they're not going to announce anything else. Because we do know that I'm fairly certain a lot of books are going to be like moved around and canceled, or the creative teams are going to be shuffled. You just can't leave it like it is now. You just can't. But what other questions do you guys have in terms of like Wonder Woman, in terms of this issue, in terms of whatever you guys would like to talk about that's Wonder Woman related. Let me know. By the way, so I have 2 covers for this. I have the Daniel Sampere like foil cover because I like the way this one looks. I'm actually going to full screen me. Let me do this. All right, so let me do this. Okay, here we go. I have the Sampere cover. It's just foil. And the standard cover, I actually got graded by CGC at a 9.6, and it's signed by Gal Gadot. Because she was doing a signing for CGC, and I was like, I want to do a special issue for her. So I was like, yep, Wonder Woman 800 is the one, because it had also that Super Wonder moment. So yeah, that's what I wanted to do. So now I have a Wonder Woman issue signed by Gal. So that's fun. I like that. But yeah, so in addition to that, so we also have like, yeah, it is hilarious how like for the longest time we didn't have like a lot of like, it's like we didn't have a lot of good Wonder Woman issues for like a couple of months, honestly. Like many months until Absolute launch, because I remember that's the only reason why I resubbed to Tom King's Wonder Woman when I first dropped it, because I didn't have another Wonder Woman thing to check out. I didn't have another like Wonder Woman series. Now I do, obviously, so I don't have to deal with this, but that's what was always like hilarious with that. But yeah, so that's where I go with that. And there's a lot of good stuff coming out, and I still maintain that there is going to be a Wonder Woman renaissance where the good stuff is going to start coming. I'm 110% sure that's going to happen eventually. It's going to take time, but again, Britt and I definitely don't think that King's run is going to last past 2026. Like, I'm still convinced that Wonder Woman, that like he leaves the book in 2026. So it just depends on when. And I still say I don't think he's going to make. I don't think he's going to make 50. If I were to make like an estimation, I really, really, really don't. But so what else you guys got? What other questions you guys want answered? We can whatever you guys would like to discuss about the current run, what could be happening later. But so what else do you guys want for that? But and it's likely not going to be. It likely won't be Rucka. Sorry, NJ, but it's like the dude. I think his like star has kind of faded for sales and stuff, so he's not gonna. I don't think they would give it back to Rucka. Plus, he doesn't want it anymore. He would rather write Batwoman, which I'm fine with that. He writes good Batwoman. But so yeah, so what other questions do you guys have about Wonder Woman, Diana, any of her world, any of her like future issues, future stories that you guys want to see covered? What else do you got? Oh, still praying for the real show. Okay, you already said that. But yeah, I mean, could it happen in March? Yeah, sure, absolutely, it could happen. But likely it will be like, let's say, at least summer. I'm gonna say, if I have to estimate it, summer. That's what I would say. Summertime latest. Now, granted, that's just me guessing. It's not me going, oh, I'm 100% sure it's going to happen. But that's just like, okay, based upon like Based upon the available signs, I'll say we get the relaunch in March. Okay, and again, it's like if that happens, great. I will sing praises. I'll be very happy about that. If it doesn't happen, okay. But if it does happen, yeah, I would say so. We'll see. It could be either waiting to see how some sales go, or I don't know. We'll see how this goes down. But I do know part of the reasoning why I think that we're approaching the end is because they're starting to lose all those shill sites that would normally prop up the issue. So that's where I'm like, okay, I'm thinking that I'm thinking that that's the one. Because the fact that you don't have the shills anymore, and they're even saying the Steve Trevor focus is getting old, that's when you know you screwed up. When King's whole ability to write is depending on focusing on Steve, and everyone's telling you that's the worst part, that is where it's indicating to me that we could doesn't mean could be approaching the end of this. But anyway, so what other things do you guys want to talk about? So we could talk about any Wonder Woman books that you guys would like to talk about, any Wonder Woman like things you would like to discuss. Let's see. Anything you guys would like to talk about? Anything at all? There's like a lot that we could talk about when it comes to Wonder Woman, her current books, Trinity, whatever you guys would like to discuss. So just drop your comments in the chat, and then we can get to talking about it. I think DC's next level era will contain entire titles, including Wonder Woman, which begins in March, will contain the entire title. Yeah, you mean it will encompass the entire thing? Yeah. Because if you notice, if you use the what's the word? If you look at like the wording of that slide which showed all the other books, it did say and more. So that could be it's like there are other stuff that's going to like be used to essentially relaunch. And the book, and this is like the pattern that happens. So what's your favorite and last thing favorite thing? Least favorite thing would be like the Batman part because it paints Batman as a man-child. The favorite part is obviously the Super Wonder part where Clark and Diana are hugging, and then Clark is looking very intimately into Diana's eyes and is going, there's so much beauty, it hurts. And he's like staring at her as he says so much beauty. So I'm like, okay, I see what you're doing, Clark. I see what you're doing. That's the funniest part. I'm like, okay, that's the part where I'm like, all right. Are you trying to tell me you're setting something up, Clue Red, or not? That's the funny part about that. That's the funny part about this. But in terms of like the other parts of this, I like how it features different artists throughout DC, and how it's basically let's take all the significant characters that Diana interacts with and let's have her go one by one to remind herself about how awesome she is. She goes one by one throughout all of the characters' dreams and learns the positive effect that she had on them. There's so much that you can do with that. there's so much set up in that, and I'm like, that's where you know that, like, again, Clunrad, I think, really appreciated Wonder Woman, and I'm talking about Becky Cloonan and Michael Conrad. They really like understood like why Diana's important and made the story about her, not about another character, even though the potential was obviously there. But no, she was 100% focused on, they were 100% focused on, let's give Diana her story, her characters, her effect, and let's go off of that. But it's like, again, what you actually need someone that actually like, you need people to actually care about Diana. But yeah, so what? Any other questions that you guys have? Just go ahead, and drop them in there. And you could talk about that. Any questions? Because it's like, that's why I say, in reality, the thing about it is, like, when King's Run ends, whenever that may be, I'm hoping it's sooner rather than later, but whenever that may be, and I've said this with Jim from Weird Science a lot on his show, it's gonna end up like this. You'll have like a year will pass. Let's say a year passes, and then inevitably it turns into let's see, inevitably it becomes, all right, so remember when Tom King wrote Wonder Woman, and then everyone's gonna be like, Tom King wrote Wonder Woman anyway, and then it's gonna move on from that. His run will not be remembered. The only thing it could be remembered for is Trinity, but besides that, the only other thing it will ever be remembered for is the fact that it's been labeled, and it keeps more and more people are labeling it as such, as the worst run in the character's history. And I tend to agree with them that it is. When you count any Wonder Woman run that's like existed for like since like post-crisis, I would say this is like the worst run in the character's history. I am going to make that absolute statement, pun intended. Pun intended. But who knows at this point, because it's like DC is in such a precarious place when it comes to like editorial decisions, canon, and such, that inevitably it's like, I honestly do believe that a reboot is coming anyway. What's your take on the implication that Diana was in a 3-year relationship? It's not true. It's not true. First, it's not true. It wasn't an implication. 2, it was done because Clunrad, not because of Marston, because she wanted Diana to be a party girl. And 3, just because of Marston manipulated women. It wasn't like he manipulated women into being in a relationship, and it wasn't a 3-year relationship. It was just Marston with 2 other women. The 2 women in that Marston movie, Lies, the 2 women were not in a relationship after he died, according to his kids. So that in and of itself is false. But that's the point there. And I'm like, they weren't in a 3-year relationship, NJ. It's not that. It really isn't that. And I don't think it works. I don't like this because Marston had some issues that all of a sudden that justifies turning Diana into a fetish machine. If a reboot does happen, what are the chances Superwoman happening again? That's a good question, because here's the problem. reboot, let's say the reboot happens. The problem is you still have the creatives in there that don't like it. So it depends on if they bring in a bunch of like new creatives as well, because they bring in a bunch of new creatives and creatives that like it. I would say the possibility is strong. But if they don't do that and just bring in like Tomasi and all those other people, then that's an issue. That's a big problem there. Like obviously, if they rebooted and put Britt in charge, obviously you know what we would do. But it's like there's not going to be like a lot of ways you can do that. There's not. It's but again, it's like, do I wish that we could actually like get Super Wonder back? Yes, but also the issue. Well, the other issue is that even if they did do it, you would also have the possibility of them screwing it up as they did with the new 52 and such. That's the other issue with this. You don't necessarily know where that would go. What are the chances of a good portion of old writers will be gone and new talent will come in to support it? That's a really good question, because I will say Scott Snyder is making it a point to bring in a bunch of fresh blood into DC. So it's not altogether impossible. And reportedly he has the support of DC in like everything he's doing, according to him and Williamson. So it is possible. I in terms of like possibility that they bring in people that like it, I would probably say maybe like, I don't know, 50-50, honestly, because it's like, I want to say higher than that, but the problem is I've been let down before by DC, so I'd rather not get my hopes up. But it's like there are a growing number of like artists and creatives that I at least observe that do support it and show it positively. So it's not altogether impossible, NJ. Not altogether impossible. You just also need someone that respects Wonder Woman. And let's start with that. Let's get writers on the character that actually support her, and then we can start building onto that, because that's the first issue, because we don't want, obviously we know that Super Wonder does not denigrate Diana as a character, but let's focus on building her up first. That's why if I were in charge of like Wonder Woman and someone asked me who's the love interest, or even if I see Wonder Woman as straight or bi or anything like that, I would say, well, for right now, I'm just trying to give Diana a world, and I'm just trying to give Diana I'm just trying to support Diana as a character first, and then we're going to add the love interest, because too many of them focus on like the love interest part. And the ironic part is King had complained about that, so that's why I'm like, it doesn't make a lot of sense that you are just like, that you're focusing on like the love interest, but you're just complained about the love interest getting too much of a focus. So that's why it doesn't really like make a whole lot of sense for me. That's the issue there. But yeah, it's like, let's focus on giving Diana, on like supporting Diana and her world. And here's a perfect example of that, NJ. Absolute Wonder Woman. Because when you look at Absolute Wonder Woman, currently there is no love interest. No matter what anyone tries to tell you, Barbara is not a love interest. And I think even Kelly said DC would not do that. And more Wonder Girls, please. That gets into my point, NJ. It's like, you develop Diana and her world first, which includes the Wonder Girls and like the Amazons and such. Develop her world first. Solidify her world first. Then you can add on like a love interest or such. And it's like when you look at Absolute Wonder Woman, that's doing that. It's introducing all these elements slowly, one at a time. But Diana is never not the focus of these issues. And you see with sales, that's why it works so well. Because you're focusing on, no, this is who Diana is as a character. This is not who Steve Trevor is. This is not who Barbara Minerva is. This is not this is not who Etta Candy is. They kind of do it with Cersei, but it's more of a point where with Cersei, I'll allow it because A, she's not the central focus of the book. It's still Wonder Woman. And B, what they're doing is they like what they're doing is I don't want to say what they're doing is, again, Diana is still the focus. It's all to build up how awesome Diana is. Even the issue when Diana's asleep and Cersei is talking to Hecate. Cersei asks, why a little girl to be the one that takes down the gods? And then I love Hecate. She goes, because no one will see it coming. No one will see it coming. When it's like, if you give it where it's like a little girl, everyone sees them as like the everyone will see them as like not a threat. But then when you go into like eventually when she grows up and becomes like a badass, they're never going to expect it until it's too late. And that is the great part of Wonder Woman. And that is why Absolute Wonder Woman is one of the highest selling DC books, and honestly, one of the best DC books to ever be released. Ever. It's one of the best DC series they have ever put out, because it's with that. I really do think that. Yeah, but that was really like my point on that. Yeah, so that's my point there. That's my real point there. It's like, focus on Diana as a character, because as we know, Diana in and of herself is, again, one of the best characters DC puts out. And it's not like it's a character that like doesn't like that can't support a like it's not like Diana is a character that can't that like no one cares about. It's not like that. And it's not like Diana is a lame character. Like she's no Lois, in other words. I had to. But that's the thing. So it's like the character is there. That, for lack of a better term, the talent is there, and it's like you just need the right leadership / creative to execute on that vision, if you will. And it's like, as of yet, Tom King has yet to show me what that is. He doesn't. It really, really, really doesn't. And here's the thing. It's not like it's anything new, because it's like this is what Tom King does, and honestly, he doesn't really deserve to. He's not a good DC writer. He doesn't understand these characters. He claims he does, but he doesn't. The fact that he has to keep saying, "I know comics really well," If you have to keep telling people you know comics, you don't know comics, brother. Kelly really was sent by God, man. She deserves the main run after King. Yep. That's why I say of the writers that they have available to them, the one most likely to get the job is Kelly, because she has proven she is capable of writing Wonder Woman to be a high-selling book. Now, would she want to do that? Because it could be she would rather just have Absolute because there's more she can do and she doesn't have to like align that much with the main line. However, I think DC should at least offer it because she's the most likely to get at least an offer, because it's like she has the proven track record. Because not only is the book Absolute Wonder Woman a top selling book, it's won multiple Eisners and is hailed not just by Wonder Woman fans as one of the best books DC is putting out. And add on top of that, so in other words, I know there's like a debate online about sales versus audience and critical liking something like books, but this book has both. You literally have everyone on your side. You have any idea how hard it is to get that? When you have the entire audience supporting you and on your side, that is when you take whatever that is and support it and cultivate it, because that doesn't get that doesn't really come across that much. And it's like, here's the thing. DC needs to stop treating Wonder Woman as a job and start putting creators that are passionate about her, because they really don't. And it's like the thing about Wonder Woman is like, if you put someone that's passionate about the character, again, you look at what happens with Absolute Wonder Woman. That's what you get there. But it's like, again, it's like because you can teach someone how to write comics. You really can, pretty simply. You can't teach someone to be passionate about a character. You just can't. Whether or not that's Batman, whether or not that's Superman, Green Lantern, Hal Jordan, Jared King, William. Come on, man. But anyway, it's like you can't teach someone you can teach someone the basic ability to write comics. You can teach someone how to format a script, how to write it clear, how to write it effectively and efficiently. You can't teach someone to be passionate about these characters. You just can't. And it's like when you have writers like Williamson on Superman, he's passionate about Superman. When you have Snyder on Batman, he's passionate about Batman. When you have Jeff Johns on Hal Jordan or Jeremy Adams on Hal Jordan, that's where you see passion. When you have Kelly Thompson on Wonder Woman, that shows passion. I think she will be very happy if they offer her in the main role. Yeah, exactly. Let me put it this way. She at least deserves to get the offer to write the book. That's what I'm going to tell you there. And it's like, because she has a proven track record with this particular character, a character that DC historically has not seen as a big priority because of the relatively low selling nature. But the fun part is when you put a high selling writer on the character, look what happens to Wonder Woman. She becomes a high selling book. Isn't that funny how that works out? Isn't that funny? But so what other questions or comments do you guys have about stuff? Any question? Can be any question as it applies to Wonder Woman. Give me any question about Diana, Wonder Woman, recent things. And again, to summarize, I don't think King is going to be on the book for that long. It's just not doing well in terms, no matter what anyone tells you, it's not doing well in terms of sales. The audience really doesn't like it. And I think DC knows that the audience does not like King's Wonder Woman run. So I think it's inevitable that he's going to move on from Wonder Woman. Even William has brought this up when I talked about the thing. Is like, if I remember correctly, it's like because with King getting more involved in DC Studios, he'll have less time to write comics. And then inevitably it's like, okay, particularly an ongoing book. So it's like, yeah, it's only a matter of time. It's only a matter of time. Jamal Campbell on Zatanna is another good example. Yeah, exactly. Look at that. Z became a high selling character when she hasn't necessarily been previous to that high of a book right now. But look at that. It's like it all it takes is the right creative, and look what happens in terms of sales on a character. It really like elevates the character and elevates the like perception of the character and the sales. You turn, and it's like, and actually there's a great Marvel documentary about it, and the thesis of this documentary is how do you make like D-list characters become A-list characters, or like B to A, if you will. And the thesis statement of this, like the answer to that, like one of the answers, granted it takes a lot of luck, let's be honest, it does take a lot of luck. But when it comes to the right creator coming on a book, you can salvage, you can practically make any character a B-lister to an A-lister. Now, obviously, Wonder Woman's an A-lister, but my point is, you can take any character, if you put the right creative on it that has the right idea, you can turn them into a very high-selling character. And we're seeing that with Kelly Thompson on Wonder Woman. In terms of Trinity, do I think the right creative could do it? In practice, yes, I do think so. But I think, is the audience necessarily going to give the writer a chance to do it? That's another thing entirely. Because really, I'm like, it could work, but it's like, nah, I don't really think that it's going to, like, I just realized if they reboot, should we wait on the sidekicks, and if so, for how long? I would say in terms of Robins, you can kind of speed run that, but in terms of like Wonder ones, I would say take your time. Take your time, because you can redo the origin for all these different characters. You really can. You really can do that and like do all this stuff, because look, because it's like, let me see, because it's like, if you, let me see, it could, because if you like because that way you can reintroduce all these characters. The other thing that would be great is if DC does a reboot, you can essentially retcon out everything King has done. According to Britt, by the way, Britt literally just DM'd me. So, Britt, if you're watching this right now, go ahead and like say hi. But she says King might be dropping the book at issue 28 because he is moving to do more Hollywood stuff. Yeah, that's what I would think too. To Britt, it's like, because he obviously has more of a passion for the Hollywood stuff, and you know what? Here's why. I know you guys are concerned about King dictating how the characters are. Here's, Robert opened my eyes to this, and William, I know you'll appreciate this too. With the creative environment when it comes to doing a show or a movie is vastly different. Here's why. With a show, he's not the only. There are more people that can like sift his ideas and like go, no, here's essentially a. Because here's the problem with Tom King. A lot of the times, he has great ideas. He really does. But he has horrible execution. So if you have more people to go through, and it's like, let's say I have an idea. It's like this way. When Britt and I are writing the Shelterverse idea. No, hang on, Cameron. Again, here's why I'm talking about that. When Britt and I have like these ideas, when Britt and I, what's the word? When Britt and I are writing Shelterverse stories, and it's like, here's what happens with this. And by I'm going to change the heading to Q&A because we're pretty much doing that. Because here's what happens. We'll both come up with like an idea, and it's like, but Cameron, again, here's the thing. I'll come up with an idea that sounds great. And Britt's like, okay, tweak it a little bit, and then it works better this way. And you know what? That's the advantage here. Because yeah, he's one of the showrunners. He's not like the head guy. There are multiple people, and there's multiple people in the writer's room. So it's like he probably dictates the general story, because that's like what that's one of the jobs of the showrunners, and the other writers also contribute to executing on that vision. So it's like, if you have him here's the basic story, here's what happens, blah 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 blah, and then the writers take that and make great scripts that tell that story, then that story is elevated. So so that character arc itself is improved. That's the advantage that comes from, because with comics, unless he has a co-author or like he consults the artist, it's just King's unfiltered ideas. With showrunners in movies, there are more people that have to sign off on something. So they could say, hey, I like the idea you're doing, but phrase it this way, or do this, and do this, because that way it's a better execution. I'm not saying it's guaranteed it's going to be like awesome, all of his TV stuff. I'm 100% not saying that, but I'm saying there's less of a chance of it being utter dog doo-doo as like his comics work is, particularly with Wonder Woman. And at the very least, hey, we all as Wonder Woman fans should be very interested in how the Supergirl movie does, because remember, the Supergirl writer is also writing the Wonder Woman movie. So the quality and like stuff of Supergirl is going to be part of what like determines, what's the word? It's going to be a good indicator of what the Wonder Woman like story is going to be. That's what I'm going to say there, because that's generally what I want to say there, because that's the general idea. And it's like, if he gets more involved in the movies, again, it's more of like his stuff. Plus, here's the thing: if the show sucks, they're not going to bring back everyone. So if the show fails, let it fail. If the show is great, if he works better as a movie person, then hey, more power to you, brother. More power to you. But if it's not, then you know what? Let the dice fall where they may, ladies and gentlemen. Let the dice fall where they may. But yeah, so that's like my thesis here. It's not the end of the world, but that's why I'd rather have him on the movies than the comics. Because with the comics, again, it's more of his unfiltered ideas, and it's less of like there's less checks, if you will, on him creatively. And it took me a second, but Robert really convinced me of that. Why it's better for like him to be involved in the movies and TV realm. So, and plus, here's the thing also, it's more high paying for him. And with Gunn's like Utter Devotion, it gives him like more creative control, so he doesn't have to worry about editorial or pitching stuff. He can pitch his own stuff, and chances are Gunn is going to greenlight it. But anyway, so before we wrap up, I want to do a little something different. So if you guys want, I can drop the for like, I don't know, 10 to 20 minutes, I can drop the link in the chat, and you guys can hop on and talk to me. So if you guys would like to do that, drop in the chat. If you guys are free, obviously, and want to, you can do that. But if not, totally fine. We can even do that next week or like in a future week, because I would love to like have a sort of a panel Q&A thing for Amazon Answers, where you guys come on and and ask questions. But obviously, keep going. I plan on going for at least another half hour, so you guys have plenty of time if you guys want to hop on or just ask your questions in the chat. So any other, so let's, if you guys also want to ask about DCU stuff, you can ask that as well. So there's like a lot of topics that we could be talking about right now. So just fire away, ladies and gentlemen, fire away. And there, but again, I'm still saying that I honestly believe this could be the like optimist in me. I gotta be honest, it could be that. But I genuinely believe we are about to have a Wonder Woman renaissance. I really do. Because Absolute Wonder Woman got it started. Because here's what that did. Even if it's the Absolute books, it showed DC that if you put my lesson that I was telling you this entire stream, if you put the right creative on the book, guess what that leads to? Sales. It's not the character that's like not the seller. It's the creative direction that you're giving. So if you do that, guess what? That's what you lead to. You can get more sales if you put passionate people. I mean, NJ, we know that from Kelly Thompson. Jay Garrick beat Cheetah when she's beaten faster. Flash like Barry. I know. It's so stupid. I'm like, why? See, here's the problem with doing. Okay, let's talk about that. I brought it up briefly on Super Wonder last night, but here's the problem with doing that. Because here's the way DC approached this KO thing, which I'm sure was just for marketing. But they currently have a contest going where you can make a bracket like it's like March Madness, and you can like determine who's going to win each match. And then if you have a perfect bracket, you win a contest. Here's the problem with doing that. A lot of the characters that were in that bracket didn't make it to the tournament in TCKO issue 1. So I'm like, wait a minute here. It's like, you just made it impossible for me to have a perfect bracket. Unless that doesn't count, it's like, yeah, but even on that, NJ, I'm like, yeah, I wish Cheetah could have advanced. Because can you imagine if one of the matches was Wonder Woman versus Cheetah? And then Cheetah lets Diana win because it's more of like, look, I'm not a hero, but it's like I'm corrupted by a god. I wouldn't trust me with like the power to like shape reality. It's like, I know you're at least going to do it in a way that's going to help people. There are talks of Homelander versus Superman. Yes. Let Homelander beat the crap out of that a-hole. Like, I'm sorry. This is going to be Superman when he first meets Homelander. You ready?
Not impressed.
That's going to be Superman when he sees Homelander. It's going to go, that's it? You're this badass that I've been hearing so much about? Because here's the thing. My theory about Homelander is that he's not as powerful as he projects. He just rules through fear, and people think he's more powerful than he actually is. If the superheroes teamed up against him, he would easily be beaten. He is in no way as powerful as Superman. And that's the funny part. So a couple of years back, I did a fan edit of the Justice League fighting Homelander. And then when I shared it, the number one comment I got is, oh, Homelander's screwed. Because, like, it's the Zack Snyder's one. So it's like he's fighting Wonder Woman, Superman, Batman, Flash, and Aquaman, Cyborg. He's gone. He is getting annihilated and curb stomped. I'm also excited because I'm like, you mean we're going to see Red Sonja meet Wonder Woman? I've always wanted to see that. And I really, really, really want that. It was really great. I really want that. I would absolutely love for that. That would be the coolest thing in the world to see them meet. So what other crossovers are you looking forward to seeing? And what matchups are you excited for? Cheetah, Kara, Karen, and Barta particularly, because as Britt so eloquently put on the show, Barta's a new god. So it's like, shouldn't she do, because she has experience with dark side, but you never know. I'm like, oh my god. Anyway, on that, that is very, very strange on that subject. Very early for me here. Well, I'm glad you're here, Lewis. I'm glad you're here. But yeah, so I'll tell you what I'm gonna do. So if you guys want, for right now, I am going to drop the link in the chat. You guys can come join me on the panel. The only rules are, I'm going to do this on YouTube only. The only rules are, again, no swearing, and let's be like civil about it. So if any of you want to show up and join me, the link is in the chat. And no pressure. You guys don't have to, but all right. Honestly, I'm skipping this event because let's be honest, it's going to be determined. That's the thing. That's the other part of this. I'm like, oh, come on. It's Wonder Woman versus Logan, Z versus Harley. There's only women left. Yeah, I'm like, all right. Do you guys want to see my bracket? What the way I had it going? All right, let's do that. I'll pull up my bracket. DC bracket. Where's my bracket? I'm gonna pull this up. So let me do this as a matter of fact. All right, I'm gonna do this. DC bracket. It's called the DCKO bracket challenge, of course. I'm gonna enter it. Let's see. I thought I did this. Okay, I gotta close my email because for some reason it's making my computer run slow. Okay, let me find this. Okay, so I'm gonna try this again. All right, DC KO brackets. Let me do this bracket. Let's try that. And I know they sent me a. Okay, there you go. They sent me a email confirmation that I joined. Okay, view my bracket. So here's what I have. So far, I actually have 11 points. Sweet. Your maximum potential score is 67. View personal results. All right, so let's see. Oh, cool. So check this out. I got some stuff correct. So let's see my bracket. So here we go. So for Superman versus Giganta, I picked Superman, obviously. For Captain Atom versus Power Girl, Captain Atom versus Power Girl, I picked Captain Atom. I gotta be honest, because Captain Atom is a beast right now. So I'm like, yeah. Anyway, hang on real quick. I'm just typing something because Captain Atom's a beast. I figured that, but it's like, I'm sorry, I just have to. For Guy Gardner versus Firestorm, I picked Guy Gardner. It's because I'm also going off of, I tried to think the way DC would, and because he was in a movie, I kind of have to go in this direction. Even though I love Firestorm, don't get me wrong. Jay Garrick and Cheetah. NJ, you're going to love me for this. I picked Cheetah. That's incorrect, but I picked Cheetah. I might as well. I'm trying to go as Wonder Woman focused as possible, by the way. Aquaman and King Shark. I went with Aquaman because he's beaten him many times. What's the big deal? And Connor Hawk or Hawkman. I picked Hawkman. Carter's a badass. Lex Luthor and Black Lightning. I picked Lex. Power Girl destroys him, though. Captain Atom said, yeah. Again, NJ, I was also trying to... I didn't want to have too many Kryptonians in the contest, though. I wanted to kind of balance it a little bit. Oh, yeah, yeah, Black Adam versus Lex, I picked that. So let's go with that. For the Demon and Supergirl, I picked Supergirl. That's the other reason why, NJ, because I was gonna pick Supergirl, even though I lost, so it's the Demon. But I was like, all right, I might as well go with that. So at least I picked that one right. But so there you go. Wonder Woman and Starro, Wonder Woman 1. I got that. All right. Yay. So Wonder Woman Starro. Then Lobo and Plastic Man. I picked Lobo. I picked that one correct. So there you go. That's fun. Swamp Thing and Vixen. I picked Mari, but apparently Swamp Thing won. So all right. Batwoman versus Cyborg. I picked Batwoman because I thought what's the word? Bat bias, if you will. But they picked Cyborg. But and if you guys have any quick questions about my thinking on the bracket, go ahead and do that. So Cyborg won. Batman and Star Sapphire, Batman won, but Batman's not in the contest. It could be just these are like I have no idea why Batman is winning, but okay. I picked Batman just because the bat bias. I was trying to think the way DC was, and this is before I read KO, so I didn't know this was happening. Red Hood versus Damian Wayne. I picked Jason, and I'm so glad I was right on that. I'm so glad I was right on that. I got mostly right, though. Sweet. Joker beats Carol Sally. I know. And then Zatanna and Barda. I picked Barda, but Zatanna won. So, hey, women are winning. Harley Quinn versus Metamorpho. I picked Harley. Again, bat bias. So it's like it's again, if it's the bat bias, it's like, yeah. So my next level for Superman versus Captain Atom, I picked Superman. And we'll see how many of these I get right. But I want to give you guys a preview. For Guy Gardner and Cheetah, I picked Guy Gardner again because of the movie. So still kind of impressed Batman lost. I know, right? That was the biggest surprise there. But in terms of like Aquaman and Hawkman, I picked Hawkman. Lex Luthor and Supergirl, I picked Lex. I figured Lex is going to be near the end. For Wonder Woman and Lobo, I picked Wonder Woman. So, hey, we'll see if I win. For Mari and Batwoman, I picked Mari. But again, she lost the previous round, so it's probably not going to be her. For Batman versus Red Hood, I picked Batman. I mean, we'll see if that actually works. For obviously, Barda's out, so it's not going to be this one. So for my next one, I picked Superman winning against Guy Gardner. I picked Hawkman against Lex. I picked Wonder Woman against Mari. You're going to detect a common thing here. For Batman versus Barda, I picked Batman. I picked Barda, but again, yeah, as you guys know. So for the last couple ones for Superman versus Hawkman, I picked Superman. For Wonder Woman versus Barda, I picked Wonder Woman. And then obviously it comes down to Superman versus Wonder Woman, and I picked Wonder Woman. I know it's not, but you know what? I did it on principle, my friends. I did it on principle. So Wonder Woman is my champion so far. So yeah, that's that. I picked Wonder Woman. So that's the thing. It's like if it happens, great. That would be humongous, but whatever. So what exactly is the story of Kid? I know Dark. Okay, so here's the story. The idea is, and this was set up in the DC All In special from like a couple of years ago. The idea is that the world is falling apart, essentially. Darkseid comes back and is like ridiculously god level powerful because Darkseid has been accumulating power with like the absolute universe and such. And the idea is, so the time trapper who is Doomsday and all the time travel characters come to the past to tell the Justice League, this is what's going to happen. You're going to lose unless you power up, essentially. And it's like the idea is that you have to go to the core of Apocalypse and fight to be crowned what's called the Omega King. And with the King Omega. And what that allows you to do, the winner is able to instead of like rebooting the universe, can like shape the universe to his or her like whim, essentially, and like essentially rebuild stuff. So that's possible. So that's basically the story. Still can't understand Cheetah lost to Jake immediately. Tammy asked, I asked you why Wade made one, and he started talking about the title, but I want to know if he took it from his head or already there. I'll show you. That was done in, where's that on the list? Okay. That was done all the way back in John Byrne's run on Wonder Woman. So that's the thing. That is the point there. That's the point because that was originally this because what happened was in the John Byrne run, Diana dies and Hippolyta becomes Wonder. She dies, but she is later ascended to Olympus as the goddess of truth. And that's essentially what happens. And that's essentially that. That's essentially. Oh, it's cut to the absolute. Yes, it is. It is very. So soft reboot at the end. I would say soft reboot is. There's going to be a reboot, but I think soft reboot is the thing. Is the thing here. But yeah, so yeah, it is connected. They basically have the absolute Trinity make a cameo, and it's implied that they are the champions that are going to be at the end of the road. So that would be actually really cool. But that's my point there. That's my point there. Is that's my objective. That's my basic summary of it. And honestly, it makes sense. And okay, here's the thing. While the story is okay, it's fun. So that's the thing about me, guys. If the story's fun, I'll look past BS and just go, okay, that's fine. I'll look past it. Because it's the whole idea about DC doing a tournament arc, that's pretty cool. That's pretty dope. So I'm going to go with that. But anyway, so I think that's a good place to leave it. So actually, no. So let me see. How much time is that? 5 minutes? You guys have 5 minutes to ask any last questions you guys have, and then I'll let you guys go. Given how Darkseid's consistently the one bringing the big events, can't blame him since it's in character for him. Yeah, and I like that. I definitely, Darkseid's my favorite DC villain, so I'm fine with that. I'm totally fine with that. All right, so while you guys do that, I'm gonna start the poll. So let's go back to doing runs. We did a single issue right now, so let's do this. So let's do. Gage, we want some Amazon schedule live switch to Amazon. No. Okay. So now we're going to do poll. Okay. So next week. Do you guys want to do a run or just a discussion? So we can do that as well. let's do a discussion. So let's do a like general discussion like we did in the beginning. So let's do this. Let's do Wonder Woman tier list. Let's do that. We can do that. That'd be fun. Let's do Wonder Woman love interests. Let's do Wonder Woman versus Lex. I don't know. I would say that'll be an interesting battle. But so what other like topics would you guys like to see on the show? We can do like what if I reinvented Wonder Woman? And for a last option, let's make the last option you guys can pick. So pick one, and then we can go off of that. And let's do with that. So, what topics would you guys like to see for as an option? If Super Wonder Series came back and Soul isn't available, that's a good one. With well, in terms of which author would I want to do, Jeremy Adams, I could see doing it really well. Maybe Kelly Thompson, I'd like to see that. If Sewell couldn't do it, there's not that many that I trust with it. That's the thing. However, if it came back, maybe Wade. I don't know. I'll tell you what. How about I just do it on Super Wonder as well? Just to talk about the relationship as well. All right, so let's do that. All right. Poll is live. You guys may vote. You guys may vote. Hey, what's up, Jack? I'm just about to. Sorry, I wasn't following. What's the poll for again? The poll is for next week's like topic for stuff. Normally, what happens is I let all you guys pick. So just vote in which one that you guys would like to do. I'm fine doing all of those. You can like pick what topics we do next week. I hate this event because of toxic power scales. You and me both, NJ. You and me both. So far, Super Wonder. Okay, so far, if I reinvented Wonder Woman is winning. So we have 4 votes. We got 7 people watching. If all you 7 people want to participate in the poll, I'll keep it on for another half a minute, and then we'll pop off for a bit. And then the next thing is I'm going to be on Lapsed Comic Fans channel tomorrow at 8 p.m. And in terms of, let's see, what else? In terms of Wonder Woman Wednesday, I'm still figuring out what I want to do there. In terms of, let's see. In terms of Under Two Capes, Robert and I haven't really decided on what we want to do with that, but more on that later. Movie night, we had to push it because I didn't want to review because no one could make it in terms of scheduling to movie night. So we're not gonna. So I didn't want to do Birds of Prey by myself. So Robert's gonna join that. Maybe my friend Nix will. She's been on the channel a lot, and we'll see. We'll see. But anyway, so let's and in terms of Super Wonder Legacy next week, Britt and I are going to do an episode talking about 1 year of Absolute Superman, and we're going to talk about how we would do an Absolute Super Wonder meetup. In other words, since they're doing the Batman meetup, how we would do Absolute Superman and Absolute Wonder Woman meeting each other and like maybe even falling in love. So we'll see with that. But yeah, so let's see so far, If I Reinvented Wonder Woman and Super Wonder are both tied. So let's see. I am going to do a coin flip. I'll prepare the coin flip in case not one wins. So there you go. All right. So I'm gonna wrap this. So we're gonna do a coin flip. So if it's heads, it's If I Reinvented Wonder Woman. If it's tails, it's Super Wonder. Okay, you ready? 3, 2, 1, flip. So we're doing If I Reinvented Wonder Woman. Hell yeah. So I'm going to get to tell you guys about my own version of Diana. So that's going to be really fun. That is going to be really fun. Oh, wait, I have to close the poll. So let me do that. All right. So let me go ahead and close it and poll. There you go. All right. So switch account. And so let's do this. All right. Stay heroic, everyone. Remember, Lois Lane is Lois Lane. She belongs to General Zod. And Steve Trevor belongs in a hydraulic press. Zois and Max about for life. I'll see you guys later. Bye-bye.